Released in 2008, Thomas & Friends: The Great Discovery was the final model production for the franchise. People in the fanbase really like this movie, and I do too. In fact, this is my favorite Thomas movie. But I'm not just gonna review the movie. So many other people have done that, and they've done it in a style that's probably way better than mine anyways. Instead, what I'm gonna do is dissect the movie, its themes, and why it's impactful even to present day. First of all, if you haven't watched the movie, watch it now. You won't want to miss it. It's on Prime Video, and it's also on YouTube if you don't care about being ethical. I watched it on Prime for this video, but admittedly, I'm getting all the footage from YouTube, so do what you will, and on to the movie. Thomas and James are racing to the wharf. Thomas wins and gets a special job and almost dies. We're skipping all that to get to the real stuff. Thomas discovers the town of Great Waterton. The Fat Controller and the other engines are really proud of Thomas, leading to his ego to skyrocket. Best of all, Thomas is put in charge with the restoration of Great Waterton. I don't know why you put a train in charge, but anyway, it's safe to say that life is going pretty well for our favorite blue tank engine. But although Thomas wasn't really paying attention to this, Topham had other news. A new engine would be doing Thomas's work. I'm definitely not the first one to point out this piece of dialogue specifically, but just listen to this.
He was shinier and bigger and stronger than Thomas.
That is where the conflict begins. Thomas is admiring his new sheds when James arrives. James talks about how awesome and friendly Stanley is. And all of a sudden, Thomas's new shed did not mean that much anymore. Throughout the day, Thomas finally sees Stanley, playing in the bubbles with his best friend. Thomas whistles to him but gets ignored. They're having too much fun. Later, Thomas sees him again, pulling Annie and Clarabelle. It's even shown that Gordon approves of Stanley. Later that night, Thomas decides to go back to Tidmouth, where it happens.
Hello there.
I don't remember who said it, but I think it was usual bloke Luke. But he specifically praised the lighting of this scene. Thomas in the dark, alone, and Stanley in the night light with all his new friends together. This leads Thomas back to his new sheds in Great Waterton. The following day, Thomas takes a train of pipes when he crashes. For the meantime, while Thomas is in the works, Stanley is put in charge. Soon Thomas is mended, but something terrible is revealed to him. Stanley is permanently in charge. Thomas felt worse than ever. His pride is gone, and he wants it back. It's about time we discuss Stanley himself. Despite his earlier depiction in the story of just being better than Thomas, he's really just kinda naive. This is best displayed at the scene at Tidmouth. He can't quite comprehend why Thomas is feeling the way he does. Back to the story, Stanley orders Thomas to shunt some trucks for him, claiming he's the best shunter ever. Thomas likes shunting, but he didn't like Stanley, so it clicked in his mind. He was going to make Stanley pull too many trucks. If you've been living under a rock, which is kind of what the information here kind of implies, loneliness has been a huge problem in today's society. There's so many people who could tell you they don't have any close friends. Unfortunately, I can kind of relate. This is due to the recent uprise in technology, but it's represented incredibly in this movie without it. First of all, the tower fall scene. Everything has gone to waste due to Thomas's actions. Everyone gives him dirty looks, and Thomas feels like he's no longer wanted. Another place where I just want to shout out whoever was setting the scene. This scene of the engines slowly going by Thomas, James Gordon giving him dirty looks and Percy and Stanley looking sad. That's really good. That's good stuff. Whoever was in charge of the model work in this movie, good job. You did absolutely amazing. And now, Thomas feels like he's no longer wanted. Later that night, Thomas wants to redeem himself. He figured if he shunted all the freight cars into place, it would make the pack's job easier, I think, and everyone would like him again. One freight car, however, had different plans, going down into a mine. Thomas goes through this fun roller coaster until it ends. He's cold, he's wet, he's alone. The following day, the engines are pulled up the Great Waterton. Within 5 seconds, Stanley asks where Thomas is. Then the search begins. We're aware Thomas isn't the best song in the world, but the beat sounds kinda eerie, and I kinda love it for that. Thomas said no one cared about him anymore. Also, yeah, that's clearly not true, as shown by the newspaper at the start of the song. Who edited this? This is great. Like, the newspaper says Percy in tears. I love that detail. It's kind of adorable that they went the extra mile. And according to Prime Video, when I saw it, it said, yeah, Trevor's attraction engine was mentioned somewhere. I can't exactly see where that is, but hey, I guess Trevor's here somewhere. So yeah, despite being a big epidemic in today's society, this movie gives us the idea that loneliness doesn't really exist. Even if you don't think so, there's probably someone out there who loves you, and hopefully you one day can understand that. Loneliness feels so real, even though I'm basically preaching the movie's plot. I struggle with loneliness myself sometimes, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. That tends to be the case with these giant online communities. In a sense, we all feel lonely together. Thomas is in the cave, scared and alone. Suddenly, he burst out a thick wall of bushes, flew across a ravine, and ran into some rocks, and rolled down a hill to a stop. During all this, the engines were growing tired, and soon they would have to go back to work. Stanley decided he would take one last look. Thomas was now stuck, thinking how things could have gone differently if he hadn't been so horrible to Stanley. He just wanted to be back with his friends. Then he heard Stanley's whistle. With the final amount of steam Thomas had left, he whistled as loud and long as he could. Stanley came to his rescue. Thomas apologized, and Stanley accepted it. Then Stanley pulled Thomas back onto the tracks. Unfortunately, now Stanley had burst his safety valve, so Thomas decided they'd trade coal and he'd save Stanley. Soon, the two friends go back to Great Waterton, together. And then, the town becomes complete for Sodor Day. Stanley brings the mayor, and during the opening of the town, Thomas has a reflection.
Thomas smiled. He had wanted to be the leader of the track. But we're all leaders of the track, puffed Thomas proudly. And he couldn't have been happier.
Well, that's it, everyone. The end of the model series, and what a note to leave on. Season 12 didn't happen. Anyway, yeah, the character arc that Thomas has in this movie cannot be ignored. Thomas is showing of ego, arrogance, selfishness, jealousy, but we still love him. Why? Well, we all see a bit of ourselves in the character. I'd argue that Thomas is my favorite fictional character ever, and that's just because we can all understand him and feel what he's feeling. In a sense, Thomas is the leader, just in a different sense. Working hard but having fun. I hope you learned something from this video. No matter how much you can't believe or don't want to believe in it, people love you. You don't have to prove anything. Thank you all for watching. Do the like and subscribe thing, and yeah, happy Thanksgiving, because I'm just tying this video in with Thanksgiving. I almost forgot. So, I will see you next time.
Thomas, the leader. It's Thomas.